Test. Test. All right, and we are live on YouTube. This is the Colts Bros Podcast Pregame Show. I'm your host, Grant Sinning, and tonight I'm joined by Garrett Stallings. Garrett, how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing pretty well. We're doing it live. This is exciting.
We are going to Bill O'Reilly this for the next 15 minutes or so. Kind of hit some things that we've missed out on. Try and talk to you guys. I've got the YouTube link pulled up on my computer, which means if you are one of the currently 4 people watching us and you have a question, we'll try and get to it. I know this is just going to be a test, and we might try to do one of these afterwards, not this week. Maybe we'll try and do these before or after, quick rapid reaction, whatever. Just 15 minutes. We're going to try and get more and more into this now that I think everyone's kind of settled into routines of life. So let's get into it, Garrett. So first things first, Andrew Luck is still dead. How do you feel?
Continuing to grieve for him, but none of this has really surprised me that much. Every time we get a new story that when they're saying, oh, he's had a setback or he's going to play or later than we thought he would, it all feels so planned out. Or at least that they never really were as optimistic about him as they made out to be at the beginning of the year. And I think part of the reason they haven't IR'd him, first of all, I don't like the conspiracy theory, really cynical ideas that, they're just trying to fool the fans into paying for tickets thinking that their quarterback is going to come back and that the season is going to matter. Or the funniest thing we saw yesterday was it Evan Silva, the fantasy writer? He was saying, they don't want to put Luck on IR because then they'd have to sign another person to fill that spot.
Yes.
Which is just the tiniest possible thing the last thing you would think about when considering whether or not to put your starting quarterback on IR is paying a backup linebacker, a special teams player, $30,000 a year or something.
For the week, right? Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, so there's a lot of stupid stuff about it, but frankly, they're leaving themselves open to that by making this whole thing such a circus, by leaving it so open-ended and then telling us more bad news just really gradually every few weeks, it seems. And I think the reason they're doing that is because their coaches and their GM or their front office, they kind of want different things. I mean, I would imagine that Ballard is thinking about this more in the long term. He doesn't feel a need to rush Andrew back. He's thinking about this offseason, about acquiring more assets. I'm not super sure that he feels really strongly that he has to win a lot of games this year to prove himself in any way. I think that he knows he has a longer timeline than that to establish himself with this team. Whereas Pagano and coaching staff, they're on a much shorter leash. They don't have a lot of room. They would ideally like to get their quarterback back this year so that they can win some games. And even if they do get fired regardless, at least they have a better resume to show to other potential employers. So I think it's that, between those two groups, you have Jim Irsay, the owner, who is just incredibly indecisive and kind of listens to whoever gets in his ear last. So I think that's the reason. I don't think it's that Andrew's health is actually much worse than it was originally diagnosed or anything like that. I just think it comes down to indecision and the division within this organization right now.
Yeah, those are fantastic points, really. I mean, because you're right, Ballard, his job isn't on the line, right? And he's thinking more long term. I want Andrew 100% healthy. I'm not worried about this year because my record doesn't matter at this point. I, in fact, would prefer to have a higher draft pick so I can actually start building this team with some good pieces as opposed to drafting from the back year after year after year. So, no, I totally get it. And Pagano's, he's trying to play as many people as he can, trying to get the best team out there because he's got to prove that he can coach if he thinks he can get a job next year, which he maybe as a defensive backs coach, let's be honest.
Yeah, may I remind you guys, this is the Chuck Pagano coaching with his back against the wall year.
Yes.
So, not sure. I mean, It's not the most encouraging thing.
Right. And I mean, and it's just everything we've seen over the past 5 years. I mean, just unprepared in big games, second half meltdowns. Without luck, I guess, second half meltdowns, because that dude would put his team on his back, and just come back and win.
I think he would still have those meltdowns in the second half with luck, but then it would just in the the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter he would catch fire.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Which was always fun, but it was always disheartening as well.
Right.
Yeah, Pagano. The thing that people always bring up with him is that his players love him. He's very popular, but they're willing to fight for him. But man, that's only unique when it's a bad team, because you usually have locker room problems and players feeling discouraged when you're winning 5 games a year or fewer. And when we had those really bad years with them, they've still been willing to fight for him, and they seem to play fairly hard, and there hasn't been a ton of locker room drama outside of what's been manufactured by the local media, at least. Yeah. But it just hasn't resulted in consistent effort on the field. The team still falls apart in these random long stretches, and they just can't keep it together.
Just like last week.
Yeah, exactly.
Against the Titans. I mean, that's a perfect example.
And that's why I think it was so frustrating to people, just because of how predictable it was when you've watched this team for as long as we all have.
Right. Okay. I'm going to keep us moving because we're trying to keep it short. One thing I will ask, and I'll answer my question, or I'll answer this first, and I'll see what you got to say if you say anything different. Chase Ehrig commenting on the live chat on YouTube. Thank you. Continue to, if you've got questions or anything you want us to comment on, go ahead and ask. We'll try and get to them. Do you guys prefer if Luck would come back for the last few games this year, or do you want him to just go ahead and sit the year out? I think he just sits out.
Yeah, if I'm looking at it strategically, then obviously there's no real benefit to bringing him back to this team with the injured O-line. We can consider that a dangerous situation for him if he's still not 100% healthy. And what would he be playing for? So strategically, yeah, obviously no reason for him to come back this year. We were just talking, that's probably the way Chris Ballard is thinking about it.
Right.
But as a fan, I miss watching him play every week. I would see him again, and frankly, as a fan, I care more about that than picking a few slots higher in the NFL draft next year.
I suppose you're right on that. I don't want you to be right on that.
Yeah,
you are right. Okay,
I don't think that he's at this point. It feels very
unlikely
that we'll see him again this year. So,
all right, let's continue moving on. Let's talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Teal Boys from the South. Defense much better than ever before, really.
They have a lot. Yes, they have so many fun players. Yes. I mean, obviously Ramsey and Boye, and then Yannick, and he's crazy. Didn't he have?
And Dante Fowler actually being good this year?
I haven't even been paying attention to him. I've just been focusing on Yannick. Didn't Yannick have like 4 sacks in the first few weeks or something?
Yeah, he had like 2 or 3 in the first game.
Yeah.
Against the Dwayne Brownless Texans.
Right.
Yeah, so I mean, Kalai Campbell's there. I mean, goodness gracious. I mean, if I think LaRaven Clark is still playing right guard. Yeah, he has to be. So, yeah, that's going to be just a fun afternoon. I just love watching my offensive line get ragdolled. That's my favorite thing. And I'm afraid that's what's going to happen today. Costanzo's played pretty well the last few weeks, but he's going up against Yannick, Fowler. Probably they'll try and get Campbell mixed in there a little bit. I mean, it's going to be very interesting. They're still somehow managing to start Polesny at middle linebacker, which is just...
I can't believe he's still alive.
Yeah, I cannot believe that he's still alive. Yeah, that's exactly. But, I mean, they've got elite linebacker Telvin Smith. He is amazing on their defense. And I think Miles Jack has actually been playing the other side of their 4-3 outside linebacker role. So a pretty good test today for our offensive line. Basically our entire offense is going to be tested all day. And The only thing that is going to really... There's two things. Sorry, I'll take it. There's two things in my mind that get the Colts offense moving this week. One, give Marlon Mack more than 2 touches.
Yes.
That's an easy one. And two, instead of moving doing formation moving and like having Kamar Aiken be your move guy to get him separated, why not do that with T.Y. Hilton? You know what I mean? Make him your move guy. Make him the guy that you move out, move across the formation, bunch formation, targeting type stuff. Because Jalen Ramsey and A.J. Bouye, they're good. They're probably the best cornerback tandem in the league right now. And if you can't spring your best wide receiver free, you're not going to win the game. So I'll be interested to see if they can be creative. Now, Chudzinski has shown that he can be creative, but he's penchant for being super conservative always comes out. So, I mean, it's I don't know. It's going to be weird. And then defensively for us, I think we're going to be fine. I mean, it's Blake Bortles, Alan Hearns, and Chris Ivory. So
not super threatening.
Marquise Lee might have a big game. Who knows? Which would make me sad. But, we'll just have to kind of see. I mean, I'm not worried about Blake. I'm not worried about Chris Ivory. We've been pretty good run stuffers. They don't, unless they can get Chris Ivory out into space, I don't really see their offense being damaging per se.
Yeah, I'm just rooting for another Malik Hooker pick.
Yes. Okay. Absolutely. So, anything else about this game that you're going to be looking for?
Not really. I mean, it's between two teams that are pretty poor. But it actually kind of has significant division consequences still, technically, even though it looks like the Titans have begun to establish themselves, and the Texans are certainly more talented than the Jags at this point. But yeah, I'm going to watch it because Jacoby is still fairly entertaining, and hopefully because Robert Turbin is out, that means Marlon.
Yeah, R.I.P.
Yeah, that means Marlon will be getting more touches, and I obviously love watching him.
Right. Hey, okay, so here's a question from Wes Bowman, Garrett. What's your prediction for the Mac stat line today?
Oh, wow. Well, I still don't know what kind of usage they're going to give him. I mean, I'm hoping for greater than 5 carries. I still don't think they're going to, and ideally a couple targets in the passing game, but I don't think so. So I'll say, 5 to 7 carries, and one of them goes for 20 plus, and he finishes with 50-something yards.
Right. I say, what you got to look at for this team is you need to give Gore, as much as I hate it, 20 touches. Or 20, at least 20 touches. And that's not carries. That could be a pass here or there. Maybe less than that. Maybe 15. But you need to give 10 minimum to Marlon now that Turbin's gone. And
ideally I would do.
Yes.
But I don't think they will.
No, I don't think they will. And I mean, the thing is that some of the stuff that we saw last year that we commented on about offensive line and Frank Gore has actually cranked out some, longer runs. And when I say longer runs, I mean more frequent 8 to 10-yard runs than he did last year.
Yeah, I was actually saying that he's kind of surprised me this year. I mean, I've been predicting his death for the last 3 straight off seasons now, and I haven't really been right about that. He's been still kind of okay.
Right. So it'll be interesting to see, but I think that they need to get Mac more involved, use him on some screens, use him on some inside the tackle, see what you can get type runs. He likes to turn it backward or turn it to the corner. Design like a pitch, you know what I mean, or a sweep. You know what I mean? When's the last time we saw a good sweep play from these Colts? So, with that,
they used to try to run them set a little bit, didn't they?
Yeah.
When he was a rookie.
Well, I'm not even talking about the jet sweep. I'm talking about just the normal pitch sweep.
Oh,
Get your pulling guard and tackle and run to the left side.
Yeah, well, the thing is, you're not going to do that with Gore. So
no, but you could do it with Mac.
Yeah, you could.
I mean,
I'd rather see him rather than his using plays that the offensive line isn't even used to running. Just give him the touches that you would give Gore, because I think he can do more with them.
Fair. All right, well, we're right at 15 minutes, so everybody who listened in, the 5 of you, thank you. We'll make this more advertised next time we try and do it. Send us a tweet at Colts Bros if you would like these to be before a game or after a game, or just go ahead and say, you idiots, do your weekly podcast like you should instead of being lazy. So you can quote me directly on that, and we'll go with that. If anyone has any questions that we didn't get to today, and I know there's one, and it's time for us to wrap it up, but we will try and get to that on Twitter. So thank you all for listening, and we will see you guys next time.
Thanks, guys.